Besides the Cleveland Orchestra, Lake Erie is one of the most important assets in our region, according to our Listening Project survey. That's why we talk a lot about the lake and its problems. But what if we sang about it? Voice of the Lake is a new oratorio from composer Margaret Brower, and it's premiering this Sunday here in Cleveland. Now, Great Lakes Today's Elizabeth Miller has covered all things related to Lake Erie, and she's here to chat about it. Welcome back.
Thank you.
An oratorio about the lake. It's a great idea. And first off, we were having a meeting today and people said, okay, well, exactly what's an oratorio? So I'll throw that at you.
That was my question too.
Okay.
So an oratorio is just like an opera, but it's just without all the frills. So there's no costumes, no staging, kind of like a concert or like a staged reading for a play. But the plan, Margaret Brower's plan, is to turn it into an opera in time, just not yet.
Just not yet, okay.
Yes.
Now we know Voice of the Lake is about Lake Erie, but that means a lot. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, so it's in 4 parts. So we start at the lake, that's the first part, and that's kind of just talking about the beauty of the lake. But then the second and third part is where the conflict comes in, the drama. And that part focuses on the relationship between recreation and business on the lake, which is something that we're still trying to figure out. And so the second and third part focus on the conflict that presents, and a lot about pollution and how to solve the Cuyahoga River and Lake Erie's legacy pollution issues.
Brower wrote a lot of the lyrics, I know, but there were other sources involved in this?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. She contacted a local poet named David Adams that she's worked with before, and he actually wrote a lot of the parts. But then she also dug into some of the public records, some of the transcripts of meetings between the Cuyahoga, or between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and citizens when all that dredging stuff was happening about dredging the Cuyahoga River. Yeah, and so she dug into those transcripts and used some of that as lyrics for the piece. And I asked her why she did that, and here's what she had to say.
I use the transcripts because they told the story better than I could do myself. It's all actually pretty factual information, some of the transcripts are.
And she doesn't use all of the transcripts because that'd be, a little complicated. But I was there actually at rehearsal on Monday earlier this week, and I got to hear some of those lyrics, and it was really musical how she kind of weaved that back and forth into a musical piece between a tenor and a soprano. Yeah,
we hear opera, we're thinking Figaro, but this is about current events, which is odd for an opera.
Yeah, I actually talked to one of our colleagues here at IdeaStream, Angela Mitchell, is in the piece, and she's performing in it on Sunday. And I asked her this, and she said she hadn't really heard of anything like this. And I personally I'm not really into opera, but the operas I do know are those famous ones that don't really have to do with current events. And so it's kind of a ripped from the headline story in a way. Margaret actually took some of the things that she uses in the piece from the newspaper. Remember that toxic blob story that the Plain Dealer had last year? That's in part 1. So it's just really interesting that she kind of pulls that, and she thought all of this drama happening in real life would make a great drama on the stage. I talked to the conductor, Domenico Boyajan, about this, and I asked him, he's conducting the piece, and I asked him what it means to work on something with such real-world ties. Here's what he had to say.
Our small part in this process, in this piece, is to communicate to people what's going on, and to do it in a meaningful way. And that meaningful way is through music, through voice.
World premiere here Sunday, where?
At the Breen Center.
Okay.
Yeah, in Lakewood.
Okay. Details, okay, in Lakewood. And then if folks can't make it to the premiere, opportunity has to be there somewhere to see it?
Yeah, hopefully. We don't really know yet, but Brower definitely hopes to have more performances of this. And this is something that really every lake has issues with. Algae. Lakes around the country are dealing with algae. And so she really hopes to bring this to other communities, either as an oratorio or as an opera.
Okay. You know what's great about producers? They whisper things in your ear. She said Breen's actually in Ohio City.
Yes, thank you.
Not in Lakewood. Okay. Thank you for the producing work. Okay. And thank you, Liz, for coming out. That was fascinating.
Thanks.
It really was. Thanks again.